All right, one little tip here. This is a brand new frame, okay? It's been powder coated. We want to scuff this area up and scuff up the landing, the spider landing. That way when we add the glue and put everything together, it adheres properly. You can use sandpaper, you can use a grinder, you can use a screwdriver, I don't care. As long as it's scuffed up, you're good to go. Scuffed up, nasty looking now. Now we're gonna spray it so it's clean, and then we'll grab some alcohol and really clean it. So these clear papers here is what's going to allow us to get the coil tight and in the middle of everything. You have to do this. You have to use these, or you have to use a method that is like this. And you're gonna want it to be as tight as possible, tight almost where you can't even put it in and pull it out. Don't make jokes. That was a pretty good one though. Not on purpose. Don't like that one. All right. That is pretty tight. It's kind of hard to pull up, which is what you want. That way it's completely in the middle of the former. And then on the terminals, you would suspect that you would want the wires lined up, right? Well, that's not the case. They don't line them up on purpose. They're going to be off like this right here. That way you can run the wires through appropriately, and then you'll notice how we glue them in place. We're going to stop and come right back. This is what I use. Got these small 2-inch ones, and I think these are 4-inch ones. That's the best glue on the market, period. It is widely known around the industry. Now we're going to add some glue around the spider also. So on the edges. Now, once that cures, it's going to take about 1 full minute to fully cure. Then we're going to hit it with some more glue around there also. We're going to pull out the clamps and get where the glue could not go while the clamps were still in there. So we'll pull these clamps out and now hit that area with glue. It is okay to use more glue than what you might suspect. It's perfectly okay. And sometimes glue gets in the way and we will drill them out a little bit larger. Give me just a minute here. This is why you kind of have to have specific tools to make it easier. Stick the wire in, pull it down. I'm gonna leave about 1.5 inches and glue them to the frame like that. That way they don't get into the way of when the speaker's traveling. You don't want the cone to ever slap that wire as it's moving up and down. You do not want that. It will be a nasty noise. Nasty. So I'm gonna glue it in place. This is the only time I use this right here to glue the wire down. All right, that's what we just did. This is how it previously was, and now it's up against the frame and cannot travel at all. It cannot move at all. I'm gonna do the right portion. Now we're going to move on to the top portion. All right, this part's kind of important. If you've ever looked at one of these recones or a RPK kit, it's going to have a line, and that is drawn on from a tech there that lines up the coil with where they want the cone to meet the top portion of it. There's a line right here and a line right there. Line those two lines up and it's supposed to be a perfect fit. Supposed to. In this case, it actually is. Once we glue it, that won't travel the way that it is right now. It'll be held in place. So now we're going to add glue to the bottom portion here, and then we'll move on to the middle parts. But before we do that, we're going to add more glue to the top. Just because I like to get it extra glue. See, all around here, we could use some extra glue up in there because we're running a ton of power on these speakers. And it needs to be as secure as possible. rope is placed. So we put a small amount of glue in there beforehand. I spray activator up under it. That way no glue can drip into the spider portion. I don't want glue down in there. It's not supposed to be in there. The activator will prevent that from happening. And then we put a little bit of glue in there and then cut the rope in. And then we'll add more glue. We'll spray it, and then we'll add more glue after that. I use a lot of glue, but not too much. Well, there is a specific amount that you want to use, because if you use too much at once, what happens? If you use too much at one time, when you spray the activator, the exterior portion of the glue will only cure and the interior portion will not immediately cure. It will cure eventually, but it'll take a long time. So we're just scooting the glue around into the rope portion. I'm going to absorb all that glue after about a full minute. Then I'll spray it. Then I'll glue it and then spray it again. And normally I do add more glue. However, I put a decent amount there. We don't need to add more. Right there, it's got plenty. It's almost to the top portion of the former there. Now, lastly, don't do what I've done twice. You have to pull your plastics out. If you don't pull your plastics out, it'll still work. Ask me how I know. It'll still work, but there'll be noise. You don't want noise at all. All right, so the last part is the cap. If you have a carbon fiber cap, now's the time to put that on. However, I would still put this one on if you have the larger carbon fiber cap. I would still put this one on. One, because that's how manufacturer will do it, and two, I just think 2 caps is better than 1. So we're gonna stick that on there like that, and there's some special glue now that we use for this portion. It dries over time. This is from DD Audio. You can use the glue that we've been using this whole time, but it's hard to get it perfect and pretty. This other stuff you can manipulate. If you make an error, you can wipe it up. CA glue, you're not going to be able to effectively wipe it up and not know that something was touched at that point. But before we do that, we're going to add some weight to this top cap. Normally I'll use a speaker. In this case, I can just use a can of paint. This will work just for weight purposes only. Weight purposes, just like that. And then once you stick this on, you don't want to move the speaker. I'm not going to be using this table afterwards, so we're going to add the glue right here as it stands. All right, there we go. Like this, but once it cures, it'll look perfect, and that's all that matters. That's it, guys. Once this dries, probably tomorrow, I'll put the ring around this and it'll be good to go. 15-inch turned into a 12. That's a wrap. All right, guys, just got here and we're going to look at the cap. You can tell it looks pretty perfect. So this will work. That's not a great option. It's hard to keep it perfect, or you can use black cement from DD Audio. That's a wrap. That's it. All done. 9,500 from a 15 to a 12 with an RPK kit. changes it up, all brand new parts.